Hello, my name is Mike Zegadlo, and I'm the Chief of Police here at Lewis University. And I'm going to speak with you for the next few minutes about our Lewis University Police Department and the public safety program here at Lewis and some of the expectations you could have for our staff and for what your students might experience as it relates to public safety here at Lewis University. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Okay, so the Lewis University Police Department is located in the southwest corner of campus, which is down by the soccer field. We occupy a building called West Hall. That building is staffed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, 7 days a week. So our police communication center is contained inside that building, and there is always a campus safety officer in the police communication center answering our phones and is there behind an open door if students need in-person assistance. So a student can stop in West Hall anytime, day or night, any day of the week, and that in our vestibule there and interact with one of our campus safety officers who'll be seated right inside that window inside the door. During regular business hours, the door to the police department is open. You can come inside. We have a service desk there. You can pick up a key. You can make a police report, talk to a police officer. You can come and visit us. Inside the police department, we have a waiting area, interview rooms, comfortable interview rooms, offices for our supervisory staff and our administrative staff, and all of the typical amenities you would expect from a police station. So our police staffing consists of three different types of positions. We have our sworn certified police officers who look like me. They have a dark blue uniform. They have a badge. They're armed. They're police officers in the traditional sense of the term, in that they have completed a certified academy in the state of Illinois, passed a test, and met all the requirements to be a certified peace officer in the state of Illinois. The same way any municipal police officer from a city would meet those same requirements. Our officers meet all of those and are required to meet all those requirements. Police officers have all the capabilities of a municipal police officer, so they can make traffic stops, they can make arrests, enforce laws. We have an agreement with the Village of Romeoville where that we can enforce Village of Romeoville local ordinances. And many of our officers are retired municipal police officers who've made the decision to come and work on a college campus because they like the experience of working with college students. So they're very enthusiastic about the opportunity to help support the educational mission of the campus. The officers who wear the light blue uniforms are our campus safety officers. These are non-sworn personnel, but still members of our professional staff who wear uniforms. They work two different roles. They staff our communication center. So there are dispatchers, our telecommunicators. They receive the calls that come in, both non-emergency and emergency calls, and they dispatch the officers, and they staff that communication center, which is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They also go out on the street and support the police officers in their work. They do service calls like vehicle unlocks and jump starts and walking escorts. They do parking enforcement. So you'll see the campus safety officers out and about quite regularly. Then we have a group of employees like you see Kayla here in the royal blue polo shirts. Those are our student workers. They're called campus safety assistants. And we usually have 4 or 5 or 6 of these working for us from semester to semester. The CSAs staff our front desk. They go on walking patrols at campus. They help with special events. They do escorts. They help with lockouts and unlocks. So you see our student campus safety assistants working around campus all the time. It's important for me that you understand that our approach to policing at LUPD is different than what you might expect in a typical municipality. And I use this slide to help illustrate that. So we take an intervention-based approach to police work as opposed to an enforcement-based approach. So I worked in municipal policing before I was here at Lewis, and much of the work in municipal policing is about developing probable cause to make an arrest to close a case. tends to be more transactional. It tends to be more punitive, tends to be more deterrent oriented. Whereas in intervention-based policing, we try to meet students who are violating a state statute or a village ordinance or a university policy. And we try to ask ourselves in that moment, what set of circumstances led to this student being in this situation at this moment, and what intervention is most likely to get that student back on a path of academic and personal success. And that's the way we approach those interactions with students. So the answer to that question is very infrequently an arrest or a citation. It's much more frequently a referral to a service, a connection with wellness, a referral to the student conduct process. All of those mechanisms are meant to redirect that student back on a path to academic and personal success. Now, if there's a situation that arises that compromises public safety and we have to take immediate steps to mitigate that public safety threat, then we do that. But those are very rare circumstances. And the vast majority of our interactions with students revolve around this concept of intervention and us being able to connect them with the resources and the referrals that are going to get them back on that pathway to academic and personal success. Additionally, as campus police officers, we have specific training that supports our mission in facilitating this educational journey that our students are on. So all of our police officers who are eligible are certified as CIT, Crisis Intervention Team Officers. This means they've gone through an intensive 40-hour training on how to respond to calls involving mental health crisis. And having been through that training, it's one of the most intense trainings I've experienced in law enforcement. On the final day, the trainers actually hire professional actors to come in to facilitate very realistic, real-time, intense scenarios where the officers are able to test their skills in crisis intervention. We do extensive training on de-escalation, not just for the police personnel, but I also go out in the community and I do de-escalation training for our students and our employees, so that everyone approaches conflict and confrontation from a common mindset of problem solving. Additionally, we have training in Title IX and gender-based violence, because that's gender-based violence is not unique to a college campus, but managing those cases under Title IX is. So our officers receive extensive training in that. We receive training in college student mental health. Our officers are trained in suicidal ideation screenings, so they can determine if a student who's talking about or thinking about suicide, they can do an immediate on-scene threat assessment to determine what the best intervention is for those students. And then we give it a whole battery of training on how to connect students with resources, everything from financial aid and academic support to student wellness and student health, and kind of everything in between, so that when we do come in contact with students who are in crisis, we can link them directly with the support services that will help them, as I mentioned earlier, get back on that path of academic and personal success. If you're not familiar with the Illinois Safety Act, that was a police reform bill that was passed a few years ago by our state legislature, and it requires a whole bunch of different stuff for law enforcement. And as sworn certified officers in the state of Illinois, we are required to comply with all of the elements of the Safety Act, just like any municipal police department. So for instance, our officers all wore body-worn cameras. So if someone on campus calls the police or we're dispatched to a call, it's safe to assume that that call is being recorded on our body-worn cameras. And the Safety Act, as well as the Illinois Body-Worn Camera Act, creates very specific requirements for how long those recordings are retained, when they must be deleted, under what circumstances can they be archived, and we follow all the provisions of that act as it's written. Additionally, as part of the Safety Act, police officers in Illinois have a duty to intervene if they observe any other police officer using force in a way that is unconstitutional or in violation of the law, or in violation of anyone's rights. So regardless of whether or not it's a supervisor doing the behavior or an officer from another department, all sworn officers in Illinois have a duty to intervene when they observe those kinds of abuses. We have specific rules around responding to complaints. We receive specific training in things like civil rights, cultural competency, human rights, so that our officers maintain the highest level of training and competence and capability to function in the complex environment that we serve. Just to give you a little background on some of the stuff that goes on campus. So we stay pretty busy as a police department. We handled almost 12,000 calls for service last year. Most of them involve us helping people out. The most common call for service we have is unlocking a door. So out of that 12,000, about 4,000 of them involved us unlocking doors. But we get all kinds of things. We have students who are lost, can't find their way on campus. We have students who have been the victim of a minor crime. We have students who might be having a mental health crisis. As you can see, 45 of the cases of the 332 reports we generated, 45 of those were mental health crisis cases. So we are trained and equipped to effectively handle those. We made 176 traffic stops. We handled 22 traffic crashes on campus, almost all of which are minor fender benders, people backing into each other in parking lots, that kind of thing. We had over 350 people participate in our community education programming. So we do a lot of training on campus. I'll show you another slide on that, but we really try to involve the community proactively to prepare them to be safe and to be successful and situationally aware. We report crime data to two different entities. So as a university, we're required to report our crime data by way of the Clery Act to the Department of Education. So the blue and gray chart that you see there is our past 3 years of Clery reportable crimes. And these are specific crimes that the Clery report requires us to report. And then because we're a police department, we also report into the National Incident-Based Reporting System, or NIBRS, which is run by the FBI, and all police departments in the United States report their crime data into that. So I put these two charts up there for a couple of reasons, just to let you know that we comply with all that stuff and we report to those two entities, but to show you that there's really not a lot of bad stuff going on campus. And the majority of the crimes that you see reported in NIBRS, because those numbers are higher than the Clery numbers, the difference is in Clery, like you don't have to report things like theft. In NIBRS, you do report things like theft. So most of the crime we have, almost all the crime we have on campus, is preventable. And we talk with students about that right through orientation. You can get more information about our public safety infrastructure and crime data by checking out our Clery report, the annual security and fire safety report, which is available on our website. A new one will be coming out in October of 2025 that will capture the years 2024 and the 2 years prior to that. So look out for that update coming in October, but for now, the most current report is the 2023 report. But that is an extensive document that gives all kinds of information about our mutual aid agreements, interagency agreements, how we program, how we train the community, our emergency response capabilities, communications, etc. So good document to review. As I mentioned previously, almost all the crime we have on campus is preventable. So when I talk to students, I explain to them that in order for a crime to take place, these three elements have to be in place. The bad guy's got to have the desire to do it, he's got to have the ability to do it, and he's got to be given an opportunity to do it. And we can work together as a community to eliminate that opportunity. And we do that by looking out for each other, by building community, by coming together, by making connections. The more interconnected we are as a community, the lower our crime rates go. Because if you're looking out for your friend and your friend's looking out for you, you tend to naturally minimize those opportunities for crime. And I give examples to the students, like, if you're in the dining hall and you get up to use the bathroom, don't leave your iPhone laying on the table, because that creates an opportunity for someone to maybe snatch that phone. And if we're looking out for each other, when my buddy gets up to go to the bathroom and leaves his iPhone on the table, I say, "Hey, Bob, you left your iPhone on the table. Why don't you take it with you?" Those types of little acts of concern and caring tend to drive down crime statistics. We've had great success with that, looking out for each other and looking out for yourself. I tell students it's very important to put this number, 815-836-5911, into their cell phones. This is the only telephone number on campus that is staffed by a living person 24/7, 365. So if it's 3 o'clock in the morning on Christmas and you need to talk to a person, you can call that number and our campus safety officer will talk to you. And I tell students not to hesitate to call that number. Something doesn't have to be on fire in order to call the police at Lewis. If you just don't know who to call, or you're stuck, or you're confused, or you're lost, just give us a call. And if we're not the ones to help you, we'll make sure we connect you with the resource that can help you. That's the kind of approach we take. So better to call and be redirected to a different resource than not to call and be stranded. I mentioned previously, we do a lot of community education, a lot of programming. So we have classes in all these topics, everything from active shooter survival, which is our ALICE training, violence prevention and threat assessment, conflict management, de-escalation. We have certified instructors in RAD, which is a women's self-defense and situational awareness program. You see a picture of our comfort dog, Jet, there, who is extremely popular on campus. We've had him now for about 2 years. Students can request Jet to come to the residence hall or to the classroom or to the programs. We have an online programming request form. He's very popular on campus, as well as all of our other community education programs. So we encourage students to take advantage of that. Invite us to come to your residence hall, your classroom, your team meeting, and we'll come and do a program. Other services we offer include, we have lost and found. Our students are very honest. So, if you lose your AirPods, come and check with the police department. It's very likely we have them. We'll help you out with your car. So if you need a jump start or you're locked out, we're not going to rotate your tires or change your oil, but little things like getting your car going. If it's broke down, we can help with that. All the other services that a police department offers. A couple other things I need to mention in terms of housekeeping is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. So especially for families and parents, most of our students are legally adults, meaning they're over the age of 18. And FERPA protects student records from being shared with anyone that the student doesn't want them shared with. Back when your student was in the K through 12 environment, parents are automatically included in that sharing. But once they become adults, they get to make decisions as to who gets to see their student records. Student records are things like transcripts, course schedules, disciplinary records, bills. So what often happens is that a parent may contact us, call the police department and say, hey, I noticed there's parking ticket charges on my student's account. Can you tell me about that? Can you tell me why they got those parking tickets? We can't share that information with you because that's a protected student record. So I often encourage the students, if you have a question like that, if you're having a problem, you can advocate for yourself. You can come in yourself and ask those questions, or you can come in with your parent, but you can be there to give them permission to share the information. There are some exceptions. So if the student's under the age of 21 and they violate drug or alcohol policy, the student conduct director will typically send a letter home to the parents. If there's a life or safety issue, so if there's concern about someone being a harm to themselves or to someone else, we can share whatever information we want. And then things that aren't student records aren't protected by FERPA. So if your student has an interaction with a professor and tells them that they're feeling depressed and hopeless and concerned, that professor can report that into the wellness center or our assessment care team, so that we can connect that student with resources. Which brings me to the assessment care team. Every institution of higher education in Illinois is required to have what's called a behavioral intervention team or a threat assessment team. Ours is called the assessment and care team. This is a group of individuals from across disciplines: academic support, dean of students office, residence life, police department, counseling center, all of whom have had intensive training in threat assessment. And what we do as a team, I'm part of this team, is that we receive referrals from the community. And you can make a referral by scanning that QR code or going to the link in the presentation there. And you fill out an electronic form. And as soon as you submit that, all of our phones light up with a notification, and we immediately begin looking at what information is there. I tell the students that once they come to campus, they're part of our support network. they become part of looking out for each other and caring for each other and recognizing when other folks in the community need help. If that student that you've been going to class with all semester, who always shows up on time and is well groomed and well prepared and has perfect notes and passes his tests and participates in class, starts showing up 10 minutes late, looks all disheveled, isn't participating in class anymore, looks like they're out of it, that indicates something is changing in that student's life. And that's someone that we want to connect with resources that so that we can make sure they stay on that path of academic and personal success. And the best way to do that is to make a referral to the assessment and care team, because we're able to, because there's so many people on that team from so many different angles, we're almost always able to help students solve problems and get them going in the right direction. So this is really a great program. We impact a lot of student lives very positively on a day-to-day basis with this program. And we want to encourage you and your students to participate in this process and get involved and notice when people need help and reach out. So if you want more information about the Lewis University Police Department, please check out our website at www.lewisu.edu/police, or you can scan that QR code in that slide. We are pretty active on social media, so if you want to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter or Instagram. We have a robust YouTube channel with all kinds of videos. Encourage you to dial into our social media. That helps you stay alert to what's going on campus. We post fun stuff up there like pictures of JET and videos of our community education programs, but we'll also post on there if there's a severe weather condition in place or if there's a power outage on campus. It's a good way to keep in touch with what's going on. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at the police department at that number I gave you. Just call that number and say, hey, I need to talk to the chief. I'm a family member of a student. You can come by West Hall anytime. My door is always open. So just check in at the front desk and say, hey, I'm a family member of a student. I'd like to talk to the chief. And as long as I'm here and not in a meeting, you'll come back to my office. We'll have a cup of coffee. We can chat and see what's going on. Welcome to the Flyer community. I'm a Flyer dad. My daughter graduated in 2020. I'm a Flyer alum. I graduated in 1996. I married a Flyer alum. My dad went to Lewis. So we have a long history and connection to the university. And we're so glad that you're part of this great Flyer community. And we hope you have a great experience.